Now, residents of Lamu at the Kenyan coast have for decades depended mainly on two industries for their livelihood: tourism and fishing. Now, the latter has mostly been neglected for years by previous governments in Kenya, despite it being extremely potential. Here's CCTV's Maria Galang speaking to the county government's fisheries executive to find out exactly what new measures are being put in place to boost the sector, while at the same time protecting the livelihoods of Lamu's fisherfolk.
Recently, the government has been investing a lot in the blue economy and in fisheries. Just how much potential does this sector have specifically here in Lamu?
When we talk about fisheries and Kenya, we would say Lamu is one of the fishing hubs in the country. This is where especially the migratory pelagic, the high value migratory pelagic tuna and tuna-like fishes aggregate in areas like Lamu. They are very rich. We are also very close to Somali waters, which are also very rich in this kind of fishery. So Lamu is one of the fishing hubs in the country, actually the best, especially looking at the statistics that say 75%, for instance, of all the lobsters in the country for local consumption and also for export come from Lamu.
Okay, tell us about some of the measures that the government is implementing to ensure that the fishermen of Lamu remain empowered.
We have a lot of hopes, especially with projects like LAPSSET, which will open up the area. The tamaking of the Lamu-Mombasa road has also started, which also will open up the region and make it easier for the fisher folks to transport the landings to the larger Mombasa and Nairobi markets. As a county government, we've taken this opportunity to try and tap into the areas that before were non-existent, like cold chain storage, which is very, very critical for fisheries, considering the shelf life of the fishery product is very, very short. With now electricity, we are tapping both green renewable power, like solar-powered blast freezers. We are putting up solar-powered blast freezers, as well as ice-making machines, the cold chain storage facilities across the county.
Fishermen here in Lamu County are very traditional. They go out to fish using the dhow boat. Is there really a way to merge the traditional ways with modern fishing?
I think the biggest challenge had been marginalization. And most of the fishing vessels you see in Lamu, they're locally made. So what we do, or what the kind of fishing we practice, is inshore fishery, which we just fish around the reef. We don't do deep sea fishing because of previously the lack of equipment, which right now the county government is working on. We have been training fishers. We've been doing a lot of scientific research as a department to try and establish the kind of species that we have, the abundance of the species that we have underwater in our Lamu waters. We've been researching and also training our fisher folks on different or new fishing methods, which are low impact and sustainable kind of fishery that we are moving towards. We are also developing a number of management plans to try and make sure that we have a sustainable fishery and that we can carry on for years to come.
Right then, let's dig deep into the details of exactly what's going on in Lamu. Sylvester Kasuku is the Director General and CEO of the LAPSSET Corridor Development Authority. He's live in studio with me right now. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
It seems at face value, off the back of that package, you've got a lot of work to do in convincing Lamu residents that this project is not there to make their lives more difficult, that it actually has benefits for them in the long run. How are you doing that?
Yes, absolutely. The LAPSSET corridor projects, as you are aware, do cover the corridor all the way from Lamu to the border with South Sudan, as well as the border with Ethiopia. And beyond the borders of Kenya, it goes all the way to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and connects to other infrastructure networks within Ethiopia. And beyond the borders of Kenya into South Sudan, it goes to Juba and crosses all the way through Bangui to Douala, the west coast of the African continent. And then it also connects to other ports along the west coast of the African continent, all the way up to Morocco and all the way down south again.
Yeah, but
So,
with
yes,
respect
so
specifically to this,
yes.
to the local fishing community,
Yes, now
because for them, they need
specifically
to buy into this.
Yes, coming now specifically to the Lamu area, you do realize that it is not just trying to create the big infrastructure for big investors alone, but it is also creating a platform in which the local investors in Lamu will find that fishing now will become even more prime as an economic sector. And whereas today they see fishing as a small time, like they use smaller boats, but the capacity for them to use bigger boats are going to come with the LAPSSET corridor project, in that there will be fish processing industries based in Lamu. There will also be a lot of international access to the fish market within Lamu, such that the fisheries sector, or what we call the larger blue economy in Lamu, will have greater access to international market. Right. So there will be greater value to even the catch that they will be having in Lamu rather than what they are having today.
The 2013 environmental impact assessment report that was done by the National Environmental Management Authority made pretty much the same argument you're making now. And it did recommend, among other things, you need fishing ports, you need modern fishing gear, you need cold storage facilities and training in aquaculture.
Right.
It's all easy enough to put this in paper, but two questions. How far along are we in implementing these? And two, who's picking up the bill for all of these things?
What I would like to say is that there are aspects which will be picked by private sector, but the government is already doing what we call the facilitative aspects of that. Number one, we are providing what we call connecting infrastructure to connect Lamu Port and the environs of Lamu with the other external areas outside Lamu. Number two, we are already undertaking what we are calling the master planning, the detailed master planning, to scope specifically all the respective investments that will be needed for the blue economy, and specifically for fisheries subsector within that economy. So that we are talking about what we call the fish port itself. We also have the fisherman's wharf based at Mokowe, which is already existing. And we also have what we call the fish processing industries, which will be developed by private sector. So the government will spearhead the development of the fisheries port together with all the attendant services that will support that sector, so that the locals can
that you're talking
benefit.
about the master plan, because I remember seeing one of the initial planning documents on LAPSSET, and they pointed out that the Lamu Resort City alone,
Yes.
that's a $970-odd million project.
Right.
And if we already had a plan that dealt with that and had identified the need for this particular city, and this is exactly what purpose it will serve within the wider coastal economy, why are we talking about another master plan now?
What
are these two different things?
Yeah, no. They are not different things. You do realize that what was done at that time needed to be enhanced by now doing what we call greater infrastructure or master plan to provide all the interconnections for now, for the intermediate period, as well as for the future, the long term.
Yeah.
So all these must be layered at detailed levels, which will therefore enable one government to undertake what we call progressive and scheduled investments without really overshooting the runway of those investments. Secondly, also to enable a private sector to seize the opportunity at each and every level to find out what investments they need to undertake at all those levels before, before it is later.
All right, we'll leave it there for the time being. Mr. Kasuku, thank you very much for your time this evening.